Do you know the old saying that says, you don't know what you don't know? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the 10 things I wish I knew before I became a musician. Coming up. Welcome back to Being Todd. If you're new here, this is a place for young musicians to learn how to be better and how to create the better band. I want you to be in a better band. So if you're new here, I'm glad you've joined us. And I really wish that as we go along here, if there's something you hear, or maybe you're an established musician, you've been around a long time, if you've got some thoughts about today's topic, please put them in the comments below. But today, we're going to talk about the 10 things that I wish I knew before I was a musician. Because I think that oftentimes we just don't know that, man, there was these nuggets of wisdom that I completely overlooked when I was young. And I'm here to tell you that those things are the things that are a difference between you being a mediocre player and a great player. So let's get into it, starting with number 10. So for me, one of the biggest things, and it's number 10 on the list, but it doesn't mean it's the least of the important things, was that listen to the teachers that you have as you get started. What you don't know is that they are filled with wisdom, and all those little things that they're telling you about playing your instrument, take those, go home, apply them. I mean, and just really work the heck out of it so that you learn how to play your instrument. Whether it's a horn, whether it's percussion, whatever it is, they're telling you little tiny things every time. And so if you don't, you may want to take like a video recorder, a Canon video recorder, or your phone, take your iPhone, your Android, film your lessons, and then listen to them back after you've gone to the lesson. And they'll tell you little tiny things. Oh, you need to move your hand a little bit more back this way. You need to keep fingers down a little bit more. They may seem like small things, but if you're not doing those small things, you're not going to get better faster. So I'm telling you that just from the get-go. Number 9 are the things that I wish I knew before I became a musician. Now, you may be young and you may be begging for this one instrument. You only need this one instrument because it's going to do everything you ever need. Well, the truth of the matter is that you're going to want more and more and more and more instruments. You're going to start telling yourself, oh, if I only had that one instrument or two or three or four, you're going to just go crazy. And you know what? You don't have to feel bad about that. And the reason I say that you don't need to feel bad about it, as a musician, these instruments you're using, they're your tools. You're like a carpenter. And so having additional instruments that do different things is a good thing. So don't feel bad about that and don't apologize for it. Even if you get a spouse or somebody says, oh, you don't need another guitar. Well, in fact, you probably do need another guitar. So just get used to that idea and embrace it. All right, number 8 on the things I wish I knew. Well, you know what it is? If you put lots of time in practicing early, and you just keep practicing and put lots of time in on those early years of your playing, you're going to get better faster. It might seem boring just doing scales. But you know what? The more that you get those hours built into your playing, the easier it becomes to play anything that comes your way. So putting those hours in, as many hours as you possibly can, is going to help your playing easy, even if it's boring. Number 7, you need to sight read music every day. I wish I had known that early on because I found it to be one of the most important things that helped me to become better faster. If you open up a piece of music every day and just try to read it down, and it doesn't have to be fast, you can do it super slow, you'll find out that you start to become better very quickly. And you'll learn a lot of styles and you'll learn some things you didn't know. But mostly it'll get you out of having to always pay attention and always looking at your instrument. You don't want to always be looking at your instrument. You want to be able to freely play from your head. So sight reading really helps that a lot. So read every day. Number 6, one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's a truth about every style of music. There are people who decide that they want to either drink or take drugs of some sort before they go on and play, thinking that it's going to be something that helps their performance. Well, jazz guitarist Pat Metheny has said that he's played with all the major players in the world, and many of them do like to smoke pot or whatever before they go on stage. And he said there is not a musician on the planet that he has played with that is better because they smoke pot. They may be at the same level for some period of the show, but they do decline in their overall performance over the course of a gig. You have to decide before you ever get to that position when you're playing with people, are you going to go ahead and be one of those guys that's going to party through the gig? Or are you going to give your best performance? So that's number 6. Number 5 of the things that I wish I knew before I became a musician. Now, this may not seem fair, but it's a truth. The best player doesn't always win the audition, but the best performer often does. And what I mean by that is that often you're going to go ahead and get ready to play for a group of people. You may be auditioning for a rock band, you may be auditioning for a brass quartet or whatever. Sometimes the performance is the whole deal. And in the classical world, that is often the case. But one thing that we don't keep in mind is often we don't talk about how we perform. And I'm not talking about showboating. I'm talking about how you present yourself as a musician, that confidence that you use. I'm going to talk about this a lot more on this channel about performing and what that means. But often it can be nothing more than you just have a good attitude. You're very cheery. When I auditioned for Disney, I played at the at Disney World in 1984 for the All-American College marching band. It was basically a jazz band, a big band on foot. One of the requirements they had in the list of audition things was the Disney look. And what they were looking for is people who could connect with the audience as they perform. We are in show business. Hear that again. We are in show business if you play an instrument. And so performing your instrument in a way that makes the crowd happy, that entertains the crowd, is an important thing. You can be the snob all you want about, oh, you're doing your art. And I agree with a good art and trying to be a good artist, but I also agree in the relationship we have with the audience. So bring that performance piece to what you do as you do that. Take a look here. This is a bad performance. This is the 4 Todds doing their thing. Yeah, that's pretty rough. And then here's a different one. This is how the 4 Todds, when they're really hopping, what they look like. Yeah, see, they're kind of hopping now. That's the difference between being the best versus being a good performer. You want to be both if possible. Number 4, you should learn everything you need to know about your instrument. You need to know how to play every style. You need to know your fingerboard. You need to know how to use your electronics if it's an electric guitar. If you're a sax player, you need to know how to do all the maintenance on it. If you're a drummer, you need to know how to be able to tune your drums. You need to know different types of cymbals. The point is you want to learn everything possible about the instrument that you're playing. And that includes styles. Even if you're only primarily into one style, if you get an idea, let's say you're a rock guitar player. If you decide to learn some jazz chords or learn how to do a country feel, if you need to, a rhythm country feel, chicken picking, if you learn some of these different things, you're going to find that it's going to improve your ability on the instrument, that you have a broader understanding that you bring to playing the instrument when you play with other people. Because there might be an instance you're playing in some weird fusion group of country and rap, and all of a sudden you find that they're asking you to play a jazz feel underneath that, and you're like, what? Well, having learned a few extra things about your instrument, being very broad in your understanding of it, will help you. So learn your instrument, learn it inside out, every note on the neck. Do it today. Number 3, I know you see it, there it is, the dreaded metronome. I'm telling you, of the things that I wish I had known early on, learning to play with a metronome and use it all the time. It needs to become your best friend, that you practice with a metronome. You know why? Because it's going to straighten out a lot of your playing. It's going to make your playing consistent. It'll make it so that other people want to play with you. Do you want to play with other musicians? If your time sucks, people don't want to play with you. So my advice is, get a metronome and play with it all the time. Whether it's just scales or really complicated licks. You need to be able to take a lick, start playing it, slow it down to the point where you can play exactly with time. You'd be surprised how many people are unable to play exact time. Number 2, as a musician, you'll be lucky if you get to play for large crowds all the time. More than likely, you're going to be playing for moderate-sized crowds or even small crowds. But one of the things that you need to know is that often playing for a small crowd can be very satisfying. You have the crowd here in this small little room, and there may only be a few of them. Maybe it's maybe a couple of dozen people. But what you don't know about playing for a small crowd is that they're very appreciative, and you can see all their faces, and you can banter back and forth with them. And they get to know you, you get to know them. And if you're playing a multi-night show at a small venue, you'll play for these group of people, and over time they're going to become super fans because they'll see you on a regular basis. They said, this guy spent time with me. So don't discount playing for a small crowd because it can be very, very satisfying. And finally, the number one thing I wish I knew before I became a musician, becoming a musician is just not some magical thing that happens. No, it's not. It's not a magician all of a sudden going ahead and going poosh, and all of a sudden you're a great musician. Becoming a musician is hard work, and it takes lots and lots of patience to become very, very good. You work hard and you are consistent about working hard every day, you're going to become a good musician. And if you're really dedicated and you practice smart and you think, you evaluate what you do, use a camera to evaluate if you're good. Find people around you who can tell you, are you making mistakes? Good teachers. If you use all these evaluation tools, you're going to become a better musician. So do that. Realize it's going to take hard work and dig in and just enjoy the journey as you go. So as a young student, you need to realize you don't know it all, and that's okay. You don't need to know it all, but you can learn to become a real student of music. And instead of getting hostile or shrugging off somebody as they're trying to help you with something, take that information and apply it. You're going to become a better musician. There are no shortcuts to getting better, so stop standing around, get into the practice room and woodshed. Sometimes we need to look in the past to kind of determine what the course is for. Do you know what I mean when I say woodshedding? I look to Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker was a great bebop musician. He was really one of the inventors of the style of bebop music. Back when he was a young man, he only knew how to play one song, and he only knew how to play it in one key. He went into a nightclub and he started to play in a jam session. Well, he was playing in a different key than the rest of the other musicians. And you know what happened? The drummer took off his cymbal and threw it at him. And it so affected him, it so bothered him that he went home and he locked himself away for 2 years and he practiced his butt off. And he came back and he was a different musician. He was head and shoulders above all the players that were out there because he put the time in. You can put the time into and become a better musician. But you got to be willing to go into the woodshed to do that. All right. Hey, thanks for being here, part of this video today. Again, if you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate it if you leave your comments below about some of the things you wish you knew if you've been around for a while. Also, just put those comments down. If you like the video, please hit the like button, and I would love for you to see more of these videos. So subscribe to the channel, and until next time, we'll see ya.